Sandoval County 911. What is the exact location of your emergency?
We think we found a body out here. It's in a road, and somebody had put it on like a mattress or something and burned it. And it looks like it has bones in it, and you can see intestines and guts, and I don't know. It's weird.
This 911 call would direct law enforcement to a scene of unimaginable horror.
Like it looks like it has lips and teeth in there.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It might be exactly what we think it is. So
the police identified the victim as Marilyn Gandert, but nothing could have prepared them for what awaited when they arrived at her house.
This is the Albuquerque Police Department. Make your presence known. Make your presence known now. Clear.
I already know what's happening.
Tell me what you think's happening.
No.
She said, "I'm too old. Will you please kill me?"
It all started with a 911 call on January 28, 2018, at 6:56 a.m. The caller was 62-year-old Harry Gandert, who resided approximately 20 miles south in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque Police, how can I help you?
Yes, this is Harry Gandert. I'm at my sister's house, and she's not here. And I haven't been able to get a hold of her, and she usually gets back to me because I call her every morning and night, and she has, and the phone has been offline.
Okay. And what's your sister's name?
Marilyn Gandert. Well, her vehicle's here, and that's how she travels. I mean, my note that I left yesterday is still in the door. I'm getting worried now.
Okay.
It's not a good day.
Marilyn Gandert, 65, had disappeared from her home under mysterious circumstances. As the police initiated their investigation, they uncovered a series of unsettling clues. Their first step was to interview her brother, the one who had placed the 911 call.
I answer the door. Her phone is like it goes directly to voice messaging. I left a note there yesterday. It's still there.
Okay.
Her vehicle is here. Yeah, 'cause I'm really nervous.
Do you have a
She's
key?
got three. No, I don't. She doesn't have that many friends. She's like me, kind of solitary.
Okay.
But now my mind is going everywhere. But she got kidnapped.
I'm with you, sir.
Killed her. I don't know.
Harry revealed that Marilyn lived a quiet, solitary life. Years ago, she had endured unimaginable loss. Her husband had passed away, and shortly after, her only son, Ryan Bickett, tragically took his own life. When Marilyn stopped answering her calls, it wasn't merely a case of missed connections. It was a silent warning that no one could yet comprehend. As the investigation yielded no immediate leads, concern deepened. Nancy Robinson, Marilyn's longtime friend from the post office, grew increasingly alarmed by her sudden disappearance.
Are you worried about Marilyn too?
Yeah.
I haven't get a hold of her for a couple of days, and it's just not like her.
No, it isn't.
So have you gone in? Did you have a key?
No, I don't have a key.
Do you have a key?
No.
No?
But
Okay.
the dogs are barking.
Marilyn's sudden disappearance without any word was an unmistakable indication that something was terribly wrong. Acting on their suspicions, the police proceeded directly to her home. As they examined the property, they quickly noticed signs that something was amiss. After knocking on the front door and receiving no response, they decided to investigate further, starting with the backyard, searching for any irregularities or traces of activity. Their next stop was the side of the garage, but the closed blinds obstructed their view, leaving them unable to glimpse inside. Determined to uncover clues, they moved to the back of the house, where they discovered the front door wide open. The sight of the open door felt like an eerie, silent invitation, urging the officers to step inside and begin their search.
I'm gonna go inside, okay?
Why? Best friend.
I understand that, but there might be somebody in there. Come over here. I'm gonna wait for another officer. We're gonna go inside, and then we'll get everything taken. I just don't want you to be getting hurt, okay?
Residents, this is Albuquerque Police Department. Coming inside, you need to make your presence known now. Come to the front door with your hands open and empty. Do it now.
Ready? I'm gonna keep along to the danger zone of the kitchen, and just kind of cover right side by side to the right.
Stepping out. Clear. Cool. I think this is the garage in here. Alright.
Inside the house, the police observed something unusual: pill bottles and medical paperwork scattered around. Despite this, there was no sign of Marilyn, and nothing appeared to be significantly disturbed. However, one peculiar detail immediately stood out. Marilyn's house keys were left hanging from the front doorknob. The open door, the missing woman, and this chilling clue created an unsettling scene, hinting at a deeper and darker mystery. With no immediate answers, the police decided to expand their search to another property. Marilyn owned a neighboring house she had been renting to her daughter-in-law, Alyssa. Nancy, Marilyn's longtime friend, informed the officers that Alyssa and her family had recently moved out, adding yet another layer of intrigue to the unfolding case.
And the owner knows you're here getting your stuff?
Yeah, she on Friday, she said come on Saturday morning and get the key.
Alyssa informed the police that she had planned to pick up the keys from Marilyn on Saturday morning, move the remaining items, and complete her relocation on Sunday. She even offered to provide text messages that might shed light on the situation. What the detectives didn't yet realize was that this encounter could be the key thread to unraveling a far darker web of events. For the moment, however, everything seemed routine. The investigators pressed on, seeking information about who last saw or spoke with Marilyn. Yet, despite their efforts, the search yielded no concrete leads on her whereabouts, leaving the mystery of her disappearance unresolved.
Did I see those texts? It just clears a few things up for us.
No, that's fine. I said I'm going to come by in about an hour for the keys. I don't have, but I told her when I am, and see, she wasn't answering me, but she doesn't always answer me.
So the last one you got from her
was at 10:35 on the 26th. That was the Friday.
Okay.
But she was here that day, and we were hanging out.
Do you know where she would be right now?
I honestly don't, and that's
because somebody's trying to report her as missing. Because Marilyn's being entered as a missing person, they want us to do a walkthrough on this house.
Okay, that's fine. Perfectly fine. I have no problem.
I appreciate it, Alyssa. It's a box to check. Right, where are you moving to?
Oh no.
This one?
I had it a little close, so I was trying to.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. You can open that door if you want. That's a closet. She didn't come yesterday, and I expected her to come by, but I didn't think anything of it. I thought, she probably just...
Right.
Sometimes she gets mad and won't even talk to me, and she's mad at me, but she has been pretty cordial with me. I said, I'm just trying to get my stuff out.
Although the police found no tangible evidence in the house, they left with a crucial piece of information, a timeline from Alyssa, which could hold the key to unraveling the mystery. As time slipped away, their concern grew, overshadowed by the haunting question of whether they would find Marilyn safe in time. Her brother, her best friend, and her daughter-in-law, 3 people who were always in close contact with her, were at a loss. None of them had any idea where she could be. Marilyn had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions and growing fear.
And the more time passes that this person is gone, it could also mean that more time passes that they could be injured, harmed, or pass away.
On the night of January 26, 2018, a middle-aged woman was driving home from work in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. However, this wasn't just another late-night commute. This drive would change her life forever. As she made her way down the dark road, she noticed something unusual: a smoldering pile emitting faint black smoke and glowing orange embers, as if it had recently been on fire. Although the road was poorly lit and she chose to keep driving, the unsettling image lingered in her mind. By the next morning, unable to shake the memory, she returned to the spot with her husband to see it in daylight. As the couple stepped out of their car to take a closer look, what they discovered left them utterly shaken. Without hesitation, the husband called the police to report the horrifying sight. Responding immediately, officers rushed to the scene to investigate further.
229. So when I get there, I'll give you a Latin long if it is what we think it is.
I don't know, man. It looks like it has ribs and teeth in there.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if it's real or
Yeah, it's creepy.
It might be exactly what we think it is, so.
There, lying on a burned mattress, was a body charred, twisted, and barely recognizable as human. Metal restraints bound the corpse, coiling tightly around the wrists and ankles, as if the person had been forcibly held in place. The right foot was conspicuously absent, cleanly severed at the ankle, and the mouth was frozen in a haunting, gaping O, as if captured in an eternal scream. This wasn't just a grotesque crime scene. It was a deliberate message. Someone wanted this body to be found, almost as if they were taunting the world to take notice. And chillingly, this was only the beginning of what promised to be an even darker story.
That evening, we put out that we had discovered these remains and hoping that we would get tips from the public as far as missing persons. We probably received 50 phone calls, but the call from Nancy was very specific. Nancy was very concerned that her friend, who had been reported missing, was the deceased person. It would fit our timeline and gave me hope that this was actually the person that we had found. After autopsy, I contacted the Office of the Medical Investigator and provided them with the dentist of Miss Gandert. They were able to confirm that the decedent on the mattress was Marilyn Gandert.
By the next day, news of the gruesome discovery spread to Albuquerque, sending shockwaves through the community. When it was confirmed that the body belonged to Marilyn, the revelation was devastating, especially for her brother, who was left grappling with the horrifying reality of her fate. The tragedy not only deepened the mystery surrounding her disappearance, but also left the entire town reeling in disbelief and sorrow.
Hi, are you Harry? Uh-huh. Hi, I'm Detective Apodaca. So I told you I was going to keep you up to date as to everything that's going on. The body that she suspected in Rio Rancho, the burned one, was positively identified as Marilyn.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Why don't you have a seat, sir? Yeah, sit down. I am so sorry we have to come and bring you this news. Harry, I'm so sorry.
She was my sister. I wish, I wish I could have been with her or something. It's too late. It's gone. Never hear her voice. I mean, she was just a wonderful person and a very wonderful sister, and I miss her every day of my life.
Marilyn was no longer missing. She had been taken from her loved ones in the most unimaginable and horrific way. Her brother's grief was immeasurable, but for the detectives, this marked the beginning of a relentless pursuit. Determined to bring the perpetrator of this gruesome crime to justice, they dove deeper into the investigation, resolved to uncover the truth behind Marilyn's tragic fate.
She's the last person who would have thought anything like this would happen. That's the movies, or drug dealers or something like that. She's a regular person, a male person.
What was Marilyn's routine?
She was like me, solitary.
She liked to stay home?
By herself, yeah. She had just a few friends, like Nancy.
Did she rarely leave the house?
Yeah, I can't think of what she would leave. Oh, I think right now she was going with the process of eviction, getting things started with movie. Alyssa lies all the time, and she would promise to pay the rent and didn't. And she just got tired this time, and I told her, well, maybe you should evict her.
What was her relationship like with Alyssa?
It was curt.
Were her and Alyssa close?
Frenemy?
More frenemies than...
Yeah.
Okay.
The police had just uncovered a significant detail. Marilyn's relationship with her daughter-in-law, Alyssa Pickett, had been strained. Adding to the intrigue, Alyssa hadn't been moving out voluntarily. She had been evicted. This revelation raised suspicions, particularly because Alyssa had failed to mention it earlier. Detectives now faced a more complex case, with mounting questions about not just where Marilyn lived, but where she might have died. Initially, their focus was on Marilyn's home, but a thorough examination revealed no signs of a struggle or bloodshed. It became evident that the murder hadn't occurred there. Armed with this new information, investigators turned their attention to another property Marilyn owned, the house she had rented to Alyssa. Given Alyssa's recent eviction, this property now seemed pivotal to uncovering the truth behind Marilyn's tragic death.
I said I'm going to come by in about an hour for the keys. I don't have, but I told her when I am, and see, she wasn't answering me, but she doesn't always answer.
Detectives redirected their focus to Marilyn's grandson, Drake, who had moved to a hotel with his girlfriend, Nikki, following the eviction. In his initial statement, Drake claimed that the last time he saw his grandmother outside the house was when his mother, Alyssa, and her friend Annie were moving their belongings. According to him, nothing during that encounter seemed out of the ordinary, no signs of trouble or anything that might have raised suspicions or caused concern. Despite his account, investigators couldn't ignore the possibility that Drake might hold key information, especially given the circumstances surrounding the eviction and Marilyn's disappearance.
When's the last time you talked to your grandma?
I would say 3 or 4 days ago. My grandmother was telling my mother that we were getting kicked out, so then I was helping her move out.
How did that make your mom feel?
Oh, she was pretty upset.
Yeah.
She was really upset.
Where's grandma?
She was not there yet. She had shown up later. We were moving stuff out, and then she had shown up. But then, the first time I saw my grandma, Annie and my mom and my grandma were there.
Drake was very nonchalant about things. He didn't know what was going on with his grandma. He's, yawning. He's just waking up. He doesn't even seem to care.
At just 19 years old, Drake's apparent ignorance about the situation was initially dismissed by detectives as youthful naivety. However, with the investigation progressing, they were now prepared to inform him about his grandmother's tragic death. Detectives planned to carefully observe his reaction, hoping it might provide crucial insight into his potential involvement or uncover details he may have been withholding, intentionally or not.
So, your grandma, we found her, but she's dead.
Where at?
Well, we believe that it's suspicious. Okay, we think someone killed her.
When?
And I'm really sorry.
Okay. How does that make you feel? What makes you feel sad? What are you sad?
Drake's reaction was unsettlingly out of the ordinary, almost as though he were putting on an act. He adamantly denied noticing anything unusual or suspicious, insisting that everything seemed normal and that everyone was alive and well the last time he saw them. With doubts lingering about his sincerity, detectives proceeded with a search warrant to thoroughly examine Alyssa's home. They hoped the search would uncover evidence that might shed light on the mystery and bring them closer to the truth behind Marilyn's tragic fate.
This is the Albuquerque Police Department. Make your presence known. Make your presence known now.
Okay, is there anybody else in the house?
No.
All right, step up on me. Okay. So this is the situation, okay? We actually have to secure the house.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get all my stuff out.
Okay. All right, so unfortunately, I can't let you go back inside.
I have things in there.
Unfortunately, I can't.
Clear.
At first, detectives found nothing out of the ordinary in Alyssa's rented house. However, their persistence paid off when they spotted a single drop of blood on the wall in the entryway hallway, a chilling discovery that hinted at something far more sinister. Meanwhile, as the search continued, Alyssa learned that Marilyn's body had been found. Detectives couldn't ignore the inconsistencies in Alyssa's account. When first questioned about Marilyn's disappearance, she never mentioned the eviction, only claiming she was in the process of moving out, a detail that struck investigators as suspicious. To add to their concerns, Nancy, Marilyn's close friend, offered another perspective. Marilyn had grown increasingly frustrated with Alyssa over the years. Following the death of her son Ryan, Marilyn had supported Alyssa extensively, but had begun insisting on rent payments, a demand Alyssa resisted. Frustrated by the emotional and financial toll, Marilyn decided to sell the house and move on, further straining their relationship. When questioned, Alyssa described the eviction process as cordial, stating that she and her friend Annie intended to leave peacefully. However, Marilyn's actions told a different story. She had changed the locks on her home and only allowed Alyssa inside when she was present. a clear sign of distrust and animosity. The investigation took a new turn when, during the search of Alyssa's rented apartment, police noticed her friend Annie pulling into the driveway. This unexpected arrival opened the door to further questioning, potentially uncovering more pieces of the puzzle surrounding Marilyn's death.
Tell me about her. She. Tell me about her.
I don't know her. I don't know a whole lot.
Did you meet Marilyn at all last week?
Yeah, so she was here when we were
she
moving
was?
stuff.
Okay. Tell me what she was doing here.
She was in a vehicle. She was in and out of the house. She was nagging everybody, telling us like how to move out. And,
really?
And then she came at me and she said that, this is your fault. You know why they're getting evicted, right? Because of you. This is weird. Like,
I know.
don't like.
Okay.
I already know what's happening.
Tell me what you think's happening.
No, like, I just don't like the way I'm being approached and questioned.
As investigators delved deeper into Marilyn's case, they received the autopsy report, a grim document that revealed not just the cause of death, but a chilling narrative of violence and fire. Marilyn had been brutally beaten and stabbed to death, but the horror didn't end there. After killing her, the perpetrator, or perhaps an accomplice, transported her body to Rio Rancho. They placed a mattress on the road, laid Marilyn's body on top of it, and then set it ablaze. The brutality was staggering. Marilyn's body had been drenched in gasoline before being lit on fire, the flames consuming her remains as the killer disappeared into the night. When the medical examiner inspected the charred remains, they found no evidence of sexual assault. However, the ligature marks around her wrists and ankles told another disturbing story. Marilyn had likely been bound, either before or during her murder. As the investigation progressed, Alyssa's interview revealed more troubling details. While she continued to maintain her innocence, her statements raised additional red flags, leaving detectives with even more questions about her potential involvement in this gruesome crime.
I want to get my things out first.
Nobody can go back until the search warrant's completed. You gotta understand.
I know, but I want my clothes and I want to go to my hotel and I want to sleep. My back hurts. I'm tired of moving.
I understand. All right.
I just want my clothes, that's all. Because she said she goes to work on Monday.
Okay.
Okay. That she wanted to take the weekend. She's like, come over in the morning and get the keys.
So she's telling you to come over in the morning and get the keys. And that was the last time you spoke to her?
No.
Okay.
I went on Saturday morning to pick up the keys.
So you went over to...
Around 10 o'clock. And I just knock on the door, get the keys. She says, give them to me on Sunday. And that's all we said. That was it. Not even another word.
Alyssa's timeline of events began to crumble under scrutiny as it failed to align with the established facts. Detectives pressed her on the inconsistencies in her shifting story, which only deepened their suspicions. One claim stood out in particular. Alyssa insisted she had last seen Marilyn on Saturday morning. The problem? Evidence confirmed that Marilyn was no longer alive by that time, making Alyssa's account not only implausible, but increasingly suspicious. Faced with these discrepancies, police decided to act. Both Alyssa and her friend Annie were taken into custody, handcuffed, and brought in for formal interviews. Investigators hoped that direct questioning would finally unravel the truth behind the tangled web of lies and the brutal crime that had claimed Marilyn's life.
That's
Try to make sure they're not too
what's
tight,
going on. This officer's going to transport you there. You're going to meet with another detective, and we're going to sit down and have a chat, okay?
Step on it.
Good way.
Following the detention of Alyssa and Annie, detectives also decided to take Drake into custody for questioning. Unlike his earlier statements, this time Drake revealed a piece of information that would completely shift the course of the investigation. His disclosure held the potential to uncover the truth behind Marilyn's tragic death, turning the case in a direction no one had anticipated.
I wrote a warrant for you for the homicide of your grandma. So I'm actually charging you with the homicide of your grandma.
Okay.
Okay. I've already had your mom, your mom's arrested.
Yeah.
And Annie is arrested.
Okay.
Okay. So I have enough probable cause to believe that you were involved in the homicide of your grandma.
How so? Oh yeah, you're the detective.
I am the detective.
I'm gonna tell you the honesty.
Okay.
My grandmother said, I'm too old. Will you please kill me? Multiple times, drunk and sober.
Okay.
That is honestly.
Drake's words took the investigation in a shocking and unexpected direction. He claimed that his actions were not driven by malice, but by a twisted sense of obligation. According to him, he had merely complied with Marilyn's alleged wishes, carrying out her request with a sense of reluctant duty. His statement left detectives grappling with more questions than answers, blurring the lines between truth and deception in an already convoluted case.
So you're saying that at some point your grandma asked you to kill her?
Yeah.
So do you remember that date?
I don't remember the date, but that's what she
Maybe
wanted.
not the actual date. I'm not asking you for the date, but can we go back to that date in your memory and tell me what happened?
I was there, and then she would be like depressed, you know?
Right.
And she for certain said that. I know she said that.
Okay.
So I
understand.
I passed her away. You know what I'm saying?
So how did you do it?
This was the moment investigators had been waiting for, the tense, nerve-wracking pause before they anticipated the truth to finally emerge. They braced themselves, expecting a confession that would unravel the horrifying details of how Marilyn was mercilessly murdered. Every word Drake was about to say could hold the key to solving the case and bringing justice to a tragedy that had shaken the community to its core.
Just essentially, that's it. That's all the information without a lawyer or a public defender I'd like to share.
Drake shuts down and he asks for an attorney, and it almost is like a defeat again for me because I know there's more to this story and I can't get it anymore from Drake.
Drake's confession was a pivotal moment, but it left investigators torn. While his words may have contained a fragment of truth, they also hinted at the possibility of something far darker lurking beneath the surface. His account, rather than providing clarity, only deepened the detectives' suspicions. They began to wonder if Drake might be taking the blame to shield his mother, Alyssa, and her friend Annie from the consequences of a crime far more sinister than he let on. This revelation left the case shrouded in even greater mystery, compelling investigators to dig deeper.
I knew in my heart I arrested the right people, but what bothered me was I did not know their exact role in the homicide. I wanted to know exactly who did what that evening.
Ultimately, further evidence uncovered the grim truth. Marilyn's murder was not the work of strangers, but a coordinated act carried out by those closest to her. Drake's confession, combined with corroborating evidence, confirmed that Alyssa, Drake, and Annie had all played a role in the horrifying crime. However, Alyssa had a different version of the story to tell a narrative she claimed would shift the blame and reveal her side of what truly happened. Her account added another layer of complexity to an already harrowing case.
So Marilyn, she's sitting in her car, and then she was coming in because she needed to use the restroom. But Drake is like, look at my mom, this is our house, can't we just stay here one more night in our own beds? And she said no. And so he was crying and he left out the back door. I stayed in my room, and at that point, I did hear Marilyn yell. And I went out there, and Annie is on her back. She's on the ground.
So Marilyn's on the ground
Marilyn's
and
on the ground,
Annie's
and
on
Annie's
top
got her
of
knee
her.
in her back.
Oh, she has her knee in her back.
Mhm.
Okay. What is Annie doing to Marilyn?
Hitting Marilyn's face. And so I'm kind of panicking, but I'm mad, and I did hit Marilyn. I tied up her hands and legs, and I helped her put this bag over her head.
Do you remember what you did it with? What you tied her up with?
Yeah, it was like phone cords and stuff like that. Then there's other one that Annie gets, put it around her neck, and I hear it snap, but I don't know if it's the cord. I'm just like, I gotta go.
So you heard something snap, whether it was the cord or Marilyn's neck.
Right.
You're not sure.
Alyssa added a shocking twist to the investigation with her version of events. She claimed that she had left Marilyn alone with Annie and, upon returning, found Annie wiping a bloody knife. According to Alyssa, this sight confirmed that something horrific had occurred in her absence. Her confession painted a different picture, one in which Drake was entirely uninvolved and appeared to be nothing more than a concerned grandson caught in the aftermath of a terrible crime. Alyssa's account, however, only complicated matters further. It directly contradicted the evidence and earlier statements, leaving detectives to determine whether she was attempting to shift blame onto Annie or whether her story contained elements of truth that had yet to be fully uncovered.
We ended up going into Rio Rancho. Then we unload the mattress, and I poured gasoline and I lit it on fire.
What did you assume had happened when you left?
Well, I would assume that she stabbed her or something.
Okay, so you don't see Drake at that point?
No, not at all in the house.
Okay.
It didn't quite ring true to me because, first of all, she's putting Drake out of the story. Annie really has no reason to stab Marilyn. Just out of the blue, they beat her up. She's unconscious. Why would Annie just stab Marilyn?
However, it didn't take long for police to find significant holes in Alyssa's story. The inconsistencies and contradictions in her account became glaringly obvious, casting further doubt on her credibility. With the faults in her narrative exposed, detectives shifted their focus to Annie, the third person who had been living in the rented house. Annie's interview was crucial. Her version of events could either corroborate Alyssa's claims or unravel an entirely different truth about what had happened to Marilyn. Investigators braced themselves for yet another layer of this already complex and disturbing case.
So, and then when Drake got there, we all were in Alyssa's room getting high. That's pretty much when Alyssa, she had brought it up before about killing Marilyn. I still didn't think we were gonna do it. I thought she was joking. She just told me when she nods, because she would pretend that she was the Don, like the Godfather. She just told me when I nod, get her. And Marilyn was coming in. Drake was like, can you just let us stay? Look at my mom packing. She was like, no. Alyssa looked at me and Drake and nodded, and I looked at Drake and he started walking behind Marilyn, and I got Marilyn in from behind and took her down.
Both Annie and Alyssa admitted that Annie was the first to lay hands on Marilyn, a critical detail that investigators honed in on. While their versions of events aligned in certain aspects, Alyssa notably avoided framing the incident as premeditated, suggesting instead that it occurred in the heat of the moment. However, her account omitted a key detail. She failed to mention that Drake had been present during the incident. This omission further deepened the detective's suspicions. Was Alyssa trying to protect Drake, or was she withholding vital information to shift blame? The inconsistencies between their stories hinted at deeper coordination and left investigators questioning the full extent of each individual's involvement in Marilyn's tragic death.
Drake was on the side of me and Alyssa. She ran into the room and came out with a short little bat thing, and Drake got on top of her. I think I yelled at Alyssa to get something to cover her mouth. I had gotten another cord and put it around her neck to strangle her, and Drake pulled it with me and it broke, and then Drake grabbed my knife and that's when he started stabbing her. I went at it a bunch of times and I yelled and I grabbed the knife from him. He had already cut her throat.
Annie's version of events took the investigation into even darker territory, offering a gruesome insight that further complicated the case. She claimed that Drake had not only been present during Marilyn's murder, but had actively participated in the assault. According to Annie, Drake helped restrain Marilyn, beat her with a baseball bat, and ultimately slashed her throat. This shocking revelation painted a horrifying picture of coordinated violence, starkly contradicting Alyssa's earlier portrayal of Drake as an innocent bystander. Investigators were left to unravel the tangled web of lies shifting blame and gruesome details to determine the true sequence of events and the extent of each person's involvement in Marilyn's brutal death.
Annie is adamant that Drake's actually the one who stabbed Marilyn in the neck and in the throat. I do believe that she's being more truthful. I think that Alyssa, being a mom, is trying to protect her son from any involvement in this case.
As investigators pieced together the chilling details, a disturbing realization emerged. Marilyn's brutal murder was not an impulsive act, but a carefully calculated crime. It was orchestrated by a family bound not by love, but by a shared commitment to violence. Their desperate attempts to cover their tracks only deepened the horror of the crime, as layer upon layer of deception and brutality was exposed, revealing a tragic betrayal by those Marilyn trusted most.
We believe that all three of these individuals did beat Marilyn, did kick Marilyn, punched Marilyn, choked Marilyn. They hit her with a souvenir bat. They wrapped plastic around her neck. They attempted to choke her to death and eventually stabbed her to death. They load Marilyn's dead body into a vehicle and drive Marilyn's body into the Rio Rancho area.
To corroborate Nikki's chilling account, investigators uncovered compelling evidence. Surveillance footage captured Annie's truck near the remote dump site, and a subsequent search revealed DNA evidence, including Marilyn's blood, as well as her purse, medications, and keys in the truck bed. Armed with this evidence, police arrested Alyssa in May 2018 for Marilyn's murder, and Annie was later charged as well. In a stunning development, both Alyssa and her son Drake confessed to their roles in Marilyn Gandert's death, pleading guilty to second-degree murder. During court proceedings, the horrifying details of the crime came to light. Frustrated and angry over their eviction for unpaid rent, the Bicketts allowed their resentment to escalate into a brutal and violent attack. Alongside Annie, they viciously took Marilyn's life and abandoned her body on a remote hillside in an effort to conceal their heinous act. Annie, who had already admitted her involvement, agreed to testify against Alyssa and Drake. Through her attorney, she provided a detailed account of how the crime unfolded, offering a grim and harrowing narrative of betrayal, violence, and tragedy that left the courtroom in shock.
And watch Alyssa pour gasoline on her and set her on fire, and as they drove away, they could see her body burning in the rearview mirror.
As Prosecutor RS prepared for trial, Marilyn's family faced a difficult choice. To spare themselves the emotional trauma of a prolonged courtroom battle, they agreed to a plea deal. This decision, while painful, allowed them to avoid reliving the gruesome details of Marilyn's death in a public trial. After careful reflection on the case and the plea agreement, the judge finally delivered the verdict on October 3, 2019. The conclusion of the legal proceedings marked a bittersweet moment for Marilyn's family, bringing a measure of justice but leaving behind the scars of a devastating loss.
Together, Alyssa Bickett, Drake Bickett, and Miss Friel attacked Miss Gandert. Together, as accomplices and co-conspirators, they beat and stabbed her, tied her arms and legs, and put a bag over her head.
The judge handed down the sentences on October 3, 2019, bringing the case to its grim conclusion. Drake was sentenced to 26 years in prison, Alyssa to 30 years, and Annie, who had cooperated with the prosecution, received a 12-year sentence. While justice was served, it provided little solace to Marilyn's grieving family. The senseless violence that took her life left a deep and permanent wound, and the memory of her tragic death continued to haunt those who loved her. For them, the legal closure was only the beginning of a lifelong journey of healing and remembrance.
Her grandson, her daughter-in-law, that doesn't make sense at all. Family members, you don't expect them to do things like that. That's the most shocking part, is that people that you know well can do the most heinous things. She cared about people and others, and me, I kind of isolated myself. She would be the only person I would pretty much talk to. I'm not going to be able to share anything with her anymore. Sometimes I wish I could see something or spirit or feel that she's right there. That's what I could do now, is to see her.
as she was when she was alive.
Our hearts go out to the family of Marilyn Gandert during this incredibly difficult time. We hope you found this video both informative and thought-provoking. If you have a case you'd like us to cover next, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your suggestions. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Criminal Abyss for more compelling stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.